Hi everyone, we're going in raw with another Raw Dog Reddit reaction. This is where I choose a title of a Reddit post related to someone seeking advice about their sex life based on the title alone and read it for the first time with you here on YouTube. The title of this post is How to Tell Your Man He Sucks in Bed. Welcome to the Pleasure Program. My name is Holly. I am a licensed therapist specializing in sex therapy, here to answer your questions and share my knowledge around all things related to a healthy and pleasurable sex life. Let's read. My guy really sucks in bed. I mean, like, no effort at all, and he always gets off. I have to use a toy when he's not around to ruin it. I have tried talking to him several times, but nothing seems to change. I really like him, but can't take much more of this. What would you suggest? Okay, right off the bat, I have so many questions here. We don't have their ages, or how long they've been together. So that, to me, would be interesting to know. She's saying I have to use a toy when he's not around to ruin it. I have to use a toy when he's not around to ruin it. Meaning masturbation? I'm not sure what that means exactly, and if she were to use a toy with him, he would somehow ruin it. I don't know what that means. I would really like to know, I guess, more what she's trying to say here. She's saying she's tried to talk to him several times, but nothing seems to change. Again, I would ask so many questions like, what did that look like? You trying to talk to him? What did you say? What did he say? There's just like a lot left to the imagination in trying to figure out what kind of advice to give this individual. So, she's saying that he puts in no effort at all and he always gets off. So my mind automatically goes to something referred to as the orgasm gap, where men tend to reach or achieve orgasm at significantly higher rates compared to women. And, there's different reasons to try to understand why that's a phenomenon that tends to happen. Some of that just comes down to a lack of sex education in terms of what type of stimulation would allow for a woman to achieve orgasm. Specifically, generally speaking, clitoral stimulation is what is required. So when she's saying he puts in no effort, it sounds like he's likely mostly focused on penetration, which is a really common idea of what sex is in our culture, at least here in America and among heterosexual couples, that if we're having sex, we are putting a penis in a vagina and calling it a day. And often that is what is required for a man to achieve orgasm, but it's generally speaking not enough for a woman. So what I assume she means by he's not putting in any effort, he's not prioritizing stimulating her clitoris properly, whether that be through oral stimulation or using hands or a toy. Which sounds like she's got a toy, sounds like she uses it and enjoys it, but for some reason isn't using it with her partner, or that's not being incorporated. Somehow it's implying he would ruin it. So I could understand her frustration. It kind of seems unfair if every time you have sex with your partner, he's really just mostly thinking about his own pleasure and not considering hers. It's important to at least have a basic understanding of female anatomy, the anatomy of a vulva, knowing where the clitoris is, and knowing how to stimulate it. But this really is like a two-person situation. She needs to be able to communicate what exactly she needs to feel pleasure, to feel satisfied in their sex life, and then kind of coach him through it. Here's what I need. Again, we don't know their ages. We don't know how long they've been together. We don't know how much time and experience they have. Sometimes this takes some trial and error. It takes the willingness to communicate in the heat of the moment, even in the middle of the act, like here, to the right, to the left, up, this kind of stimulation, showing him on herself and then guiding him to stimulate her in the way that she needs. This is the kind of communication that's required to address a situation like this. If he doesn't have a basic understanding of female anatomy and how to pleasure his partner, then he needs that information. So she's one way he can get that information. There's also some really great resources out there. There's a book called She Comes First. It's written by a male author, intended for a male audience, primarily heterosexual men, on understanding female anatomy and how to successfully pleasure a woman and help her achieve orgasm. So that might be a useful resource. There's a website called OMG Yes, where there are videos and tutorials you could watch together as a couple. You can sit down and view different forms of stimulation that you could try together. So I think I would suggest this be a collaborative effort. Sounds like she's tried to talk to him about it. I think what you say, the quality of that conversation really matters. Does he feel uncomfortable? A lot of people feel uncomfortable talking about sex. So just the willingness to open the door, start having these conversations is a huge step in the right direction to addressing this issue. So, we've talked about the orgasm gap, lack of appropriate and accurate sex education, also the difficulties in just simply talking about sex with a partner and communicating about sex. Those can all be barriers that contribute to an issue like this. I think another issue that's possible here is simply if he just feels entitled to his own pleasure and that he's not really considerate in prioritizing her pleasure. And if that's the case, then I think you have some bigger questions to ask about the quality of this relationship overall. If your partner is not prioritizing your pleasure and wanting to resolve the issue, if she's saying, look, I feel like you're not putting in much effort, something's got to change here, and he's not hearing that or attempting to address that or is dismissive, then I think there's other questions to be asked. Is he being dismissive of your thoughts and ideas and desires in other areas of your relationship? Do you feel heard when you bring up other difficult topics? How do the two of you handle conflict in general as a couple? These are all questions I would be asking myself if it didn't appear to be a misunderstanding in terms of sex education or just a struggle or discomfort around talking about sex in general. If those issues don't seem to be there, then what is this really about? Is he being selfish and not having sex with his partner in a way that is fair and balanced and considerate of both parties involved? Let's take a look at what the top comments are on this post. Does he want to get better in bed? No effort at all sounds like he doesn't care. It really comes down to him starting to put in the effort, or this could become a deal breaker. Nothing wrong with toys, but he should also be trying to please you. I have another thought about the use of toys. Sometimes men can feel threatened by a woman's use of a toy in the bedroom, that somehow their penis or their performance is not good enough, and therefore their reaction or attitude around the use of toys can perhaps ruin it, which she's referring to when she uses a toy, that he ruins it. So I'm not sure what that means, but I wonder if it means that he doesn't like the idea of her using a toy and he wants to be enough. And I guess what I have to say about that is I would encourage somebody to rethink the way they view the use of sex toys, because they really can be very beneficial. They can help an individual who maybe struggles to achieve orgasm, provide a type of stimulation that is really difficult to replicate just with your natural body. It can be an asset to your experience together. If you're struggling to provide the right stimulation your partner needs, the use of a toy can really just allow for that experience to be a bit easier and lighter and more enjoyable. And I think it sends the message you're willing to experiment and explore and think outside the box, get creative. These are all qualities that greatly improve the quality of your sex life with a partner, especially in the long term. If you're trying to maintain sexual desire in a long-term relationship, being willing to explore together, experiment, be creative, think outside the box, especially as life throws different variables at you over the years, those are qualities that will help you get through. So why not apply that to the idea of using a sex toy? A sex toy cannot provide, it is not a replacement for a person. It cannot provide, the type of real human interaction and human touch that, we need. Those are my thoughts about the use of a toy. Second top comment here, use the toy when he is around. Sarcasm aside, if you can't discuss what gets you off, why stay? A couple more people said, make him use the toy on you until you're done. Someone else, my exact thoughts were to use the toy when he's around. Another comment here, tell him what to do in the moment. Make it a sexy thing. If he doesn't respond well to any of it, that means he's not caring about your needs and you should let him go. Tell him to stop sucking in bed and to start sucking in bed. LOL. Guess alluding to providing oral. I wish this couple luck. I hope they can figure it out. And if they can't, I hope they're able to move on to partners that are willing to have maybe some difficult conversations, or partners that are really invested in each other's pleasure. So I think we all deserve that. Well, if you like this video, feel free to give it a like. Maybe subscribe if you're new to the channel. I keep hearing those things really help the algorithm. So help us out. And I will see you in the next video.